Blessed Redeemer, you have set this captive free. Lord, I can't help but sing. Faithful you are, faithful forever you will be. Faithful you are. All your promises are yes and amen. All your promises are yes and amen. I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness. I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness. I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness. I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness. Faithful you are, faithful forever you will be. Faithful you are. All your promises are yes and amen. All your promises are yes and amen. Who am I that the highest King would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Free at last he has ransomed me. His grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, it's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am.
A house of prayer, you've made it a robber's den. And that makes the chief priests and the scribes upset. They consider it their territory, certainly their house. Things have gone the way they've wanted it to go, or it would be otherwise. And they're indignant by this and even cry out, "Do you hear what's being said?" And Jesus says, "That's right. Yes, I do hear, and it's a good thing that even out of infants and nursing babes, praise has been prepared for God." And so there's this interesting mix of celebration, the former blind folks and the lame folks that have been coming in and Jesus is healing them, and all this incredible, positive, amazing, awesome experience for all those that are in the temple. The temple hasn't seen worship within its walls like this in who knows how long, where people are genuinely just so excited about who God is and what God is doing in their life and who Jesus is as the Messiah. And then you have that tension of the indignant spiritual leaders or supposed religious leaders. And then in verse 17, he leaves them and goes out of the city to Bethany to spend the night there. Now he'll come back the next morning, and this conversation with them will continue in verse 23. This tension, they're going to demand, by whose authority do you do this? A follow-up on the idea of indignant, of who do you think you are? How dare you? So they're going to ask him, who do you think you are? By whose authority? But we get such a peculiar paragraph, verse 18 through 22. Now, only two of the gospel writers include this paragraph. Mark is the other one, but let's read Matthew's take here first in verse 18. So he left for the night, he left the temple, and then he's coming back in the morning. Now in the morning, when he was returning to the city, he became hungry. Seeing a lone fig tree by the road, he came to it and found nothing on it except leaves only. And he said, "No longer shall there be any fruit from you." And at once the fig tree withered, the leaves withered. Seeing this, the disciples were amazed and asked, "How did the fig tree wither all at once?" And Jesus answered and said to them, "Truly I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but even if you say to this mountain, 'Be taken up and cast into the sea,' it will happen. And all things that you ask in prayer, believing, you will receive." And then he entered the temple, and in the conversation with the chief priests and scribes continue. What an interesting paragraph. What a fascinating paragraph. Some incredible things here are happening, but one of the larger questions is, what does this have to do with, why does Jesus pick on a poor fig tree? So let's look at some of the things involved in this paragraph. It's absolutely fascinating. First of all, the first thing that I'm kind of noticing is in verse 20, the disciples are amazed. How did the fig tree wither at once? Really? We're 3 years-ish down the road in Jesus' ministry. Let's just take a little inventory. What have the disciples seen? Well, let me think now. Let's see. They've watched Jesus heal the sick. They have watched Jesus calm a storm. I mean, his power over nature itself, and the storm immediately stops, and the boat immediately is transported to the other side. They've watched Jesus walk on water in the middle of another storm. They even saw him provide for Peter to walk on water for a brief period. They've watched Jesus cast out demons, men who were so cruelly demon-possessed they were had been bound with chains and cables, and those things couldn't hold him. They have watched Jesus raise people from the dead. There's the little girl, there's the young man of Nain. They were there when he raised Lazarus from the dead, having been in the tomb 4 days. And they're amazed that he can curse a fig tree. I'm amazed that they're amazed. Are you amazed? Just in the previous paragraph, just that day before, he healed the blind and the lame. That's why they're in the temple and all the celebration was happening. So I'm amazed that they're amazed that he can curse a fig tree. So that's one thing. Secondly, why is he so hard on fig trees? In fact, let's turn to Mark chapter 11. Mark is the other gospel writer that includes this same event that happens. And Mark gives us a little detail, which I don't know if it helps or hurts. We'll see. So this is Mark chapter 11, verse 12. On the next day, when they had left Bethany, he became hungry. Seeing at a distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to it to see if perhaps he would find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not, listen, for it was not the season for figs. He said, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And then Mark adds, the next day, as they're passing by in verse 20 in the morning, they see the fig tree withered from the roots up. I mean, completely dead. Not just how the leaves withered at once, but from the root up, the entire tree is stone dead. By the next morning, being reminded, Peter said to him, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree which you cursed has withered." So, I mean, Jesus doesn't just stunt it. He doesn't just burn it a little bit. I mean, it's dead. Why did he curse the poor fig tree? Especially, let's go back to verse 13. It was not the season for figs. Well, that's not fair. It'd be like being mad at an apple tree for not having apples in January. What is going on? This is a passage that I have puzzled over and wondered about, and surprisingly, at least in my research, I haven't found commentaries that talk much about it other than, oh, look, Jesus has the power to kill trees and move on. But this seems so unfair, so unkind. But there's a little hint here and then a little background. Verse 13, Mark says, seeing at a distance a fig tree in leaf. So the fact that the fig tree has leaves makes it stand out. Okay, let's go back to Matthew now. Matthew, verse 19, Matthew tells us a very similar thing. Seeing a lone fig tree by the road, he came to it and found nothing on it except leaves only. Mark adds that's why he went to it, is that he could see or notice that he could see the leaves from a distance. So I've puzzled over this passage for a long time and hadn't found a whole lot of help. And then we lived on the West Coast for a while, and we were excited about the environment. It's one of those places where it's a temperate climate and there's water readily available, and if you irrigate something, I mean, you can grow. In fact, you can grow it. I remember one of our church members brought us fruit regularly. Had the best tasting peaches and nectarines and plums and just amazing. And then finally one day they invited us over to have lunch and take a tour of his farm, and I was so excited about just imagining the rolling hills of the peach orchards and the nectarine orchards and the plum. I don't know if that's an orchard or a thicket or a tree or a what, but couldn't wait to see this amazing production. And so we got their address and we drove into a trailer park. A trailer park. Now, it was a nice trailer park. It was for one of those retirement parks. And we drive in there, and they lived in a double wide in a lot on a simple small lot with all these other trailers. No grass, nothing but rocks surrounding it. And all of these little trees were growing out of 5-gallon buckets. And when I was getting the tour, I said, how